This is your City Council Roundup, a recap of what's happening at City Hall with John Ongaro. The views expressed in this program are solely of those of the host and not necessarily those of the radio station or its partners.
Well, a very different City Council Roundup this time around. For the first time ever, usually there's a script. And there's a script because there's so much to cover and so much to talk about that I try my best to break it all down and deliver it almost like a news story, but then give my 2 cents throughout.
And fair comment, there's a lot to cover there. That's why.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Today, there is no script.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. I
Yeah.
have a couple of notes with some numbers on it, but
Sure.
there's a reason for that. Yep. And the reason is that, full disclosure, as mentioned earlier this morning, I missed a good part of the meeting last night. But I thought I was going to miss the whole thing when I tuned in at 8 o'clock. That was 3 hours in to last night's budget deliberations. The operating budget is in front of council. We all know the story. City administration wanted to advised at 2.6%. That was approved by council. Then the outside boards and agencies got involved, and the budget changed because our tax rate is now 4%. A lot of that has to do with what's happened with the Thunder Bay Police Service. Now, we'll get to that in a second. Administration gave 2.6 as a budget. They met their goals. They did what they were asked to do and approved by council. They did their work. Council approved it. Outside boards and agencies will submit their budgets based on what their needs are, period. If it's more or less, it is up to them. But in most cases, in a majority of the cases, administration and council can't do anything about it. They are levied by these organizations to pay up and to make their payments to them to meet their budgets. Okay? We're understanding. So the 2.6% from administration that was approved by council was met by administration. Then along comes the outside boards and agencies. Now, what happened last night was a little on the troubling side. And so our text line is open, by the way. 807-344-8229 is the T-Bay Teletalk and text line. I posed this question to you, and we would love your response because I think it's incredibly important that we talk about what happened last night and how your council handled it. It is a big deal. Last night, it was presented by the Thunder Bay Police Service. Darcy Fleury was our guest on Tuesday morning. Yep. Where the operational budget for the Thunder Bay Police Service is $64 million. It is an increase of 9.1% from 2025. What does that mean to you and I? It means our tax rate goes from 2.6 to 4% because of a good chunk of this.
Yeah, it's not all from the Thunder Bay
Not
Police,
all of
though.
it, but a good portion of it is.
That's fair.
Now, where did the 9.1% come from with the Thunder Bay Police Service? Well, higher operational costs tied to increased call volumes, especially high-priority calls requiring more officers and longer response times. They are in desperate need of more boots on the ground, with a lot of people being off or changes or even retirements, and so more officers are needed. That's part of this. It is not discretionary spending. What that means is they're not buying fancy things. These are people, boots on the ground, and people in the office to maintain the level of service that we need. At the same time, the community has been begging for safer streets and more safety on the streets, and that requires more work from the Thunder Bay Police Service, who, I hope nobody disagrees, are incredibly overworked as it is.
Yeah. I appreciate the whole more boots on the ground because I think this city needs it. City needs to be more safe.
Sure.
And the police coming in with this request to have more officers out there is very important.
So the changes to the human resources part is a big deal because the police service says that staffing increases are essential to maintain public safety and meet community expectations. Okay? The community has been more than vocal on, can we please do something about this? And so here we are. So that's where the 9.1% comes in. Now, ask yourself this. As a taxpayer, as a resident of the city, if your taxes go up $20, $30, $40 a year to pay for safer streets, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
My opinion, which is what this piece is, but we are looking for yours. My opinion is absolutely. if the police service was coming forward with, we're changing all of our police cars to Cadillacs, I would probably have a problem with that. But when the police service comes forward and says, we need more people, we need more help, we need to do something about crime in our city, we need to spend more money, I'm absolutely okay with that. The other part of it is the cost of doing policing today versus 5 years ago is very different.
Yep.
And anybody who disputes that has not been to a grocery store. Right?
The cost of doing business in general alone
Everywhere.
overall has changed.
Everywhere. It is the cost of everything. So when they come forward and say we need more money to do the things that we do and to add to our services to make the city safer, I have trouble if you have trouble with that, because I want the city to be safer. Does that make sense?
A fair comment, makes absolute sense. 807-344-8229 on our T-Bay Tel Talk and text line. Let's put it out to you as we are doing this City Council Roundup. Do you feel that you'd be comfortable with that kind of an increase in order to have more police on the ground and to help out police services? Again, a 9.1% increase in the budget, that request. What are your thoughts?
Are you okay with paying a little bit more on your taxes to cover that? So we've covered that part.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the part where I just happened to tune in during the deliberations of this. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but I don't want to be that guy. I am not being overly dramatic when I say this. I just really think it's super important that you understand what's happening in that room. And I know that there's going to be criticism for this, and I'm completely fine with it. That's the purpose of this, is, if anything, draw your own conclusions, have your own conversations, and make up your own mind. But let me tell you what I witnessed last night. Mm-hmm. What I witnessed last night was a completely dysfunctional group again that not only doesn't get along, but has this entitlement that they are experts in everything but know nothing. If the Thunder Bay Police Chief is sitting in front of you, a man of incredible honor and experience and understanding of what the force and the people that work there go through every day, tells you we have staffing issues, we need more people on the ground, and tells you that the community is saying loud and clear that they want a safer city, why on earth would you have the arrogance to question that if you've never done the job? Mm-hmm. And this is my biggest problem, because we went into this multiple rounds of debates questioning overtime and the work that they're doing because it's all about money. Stop talking about the money and start listening to the citizens that say we're in trouble and we need help. For God's sake, it's not about the money. It's about where we are as a community and what we need on the ground right now, which is what this police service and their board are trying to tell you. Questioning them on those line items is embarrassing. And that's what happened last night. And it came from the same two counselors that you can guess. I'm not even going to give them the mention of their name. You can guess who was picking apart the budget and questioning every aspect of it, and then have the nerve to say, look at all these increases in the last 5 years. What have you done with that money? Are you kidding me? Do you drive around and look at what's happening? And your question, you think they're sitting on their hands? Mm-hmm. They're doing nothing? That's not what's happening. And for you to challenge them like that was beyond embarrassing. And it went on and on and on. And I have to say, and again, I got to call it like I see it. The chair of the operating budget portion of Committee of the Whole last night was Mark Benz. Mm-hmm. Mark Benz did a good job of trying to keep everybody in their 5 minutes. But at the same time, he did an exceptionally poor job of keeping the conversation about the budget. At one point, I had to listen to a counselor talk about how we need changes to the justice system. Oh. For God's sake, we have nothing to do with the justice system. We're talking about Thunder Bay. Sure, if you have a problem with the justice system and the federal and provincial governments, please, by all means, run for office. But in the meantime, this group of 13 people have zero control over that. It's just how politics work. So for us to have to listen to the pontification of these experts talking about how the government needs to fix the justice system, you are clueless. They're in front of you telling you we need help and we need a little bit more money to do something good, and we're questioning it.
The one thing that I take from it, even reading the article at yourthunderbay.ca, listening to you this morning, watching some of it last night, was also thinking from the side, from the viewpoint of a police officer watching that last night.
You're questioning
Because
what I'm doing every day.
We always say it takes a special person to be wearing the clothes and being a police officer in this day and age, and here in our city, anywhere, it takes a special person. So bless them all who do what they do. And if you're a police officer listening right now, I'm sorry you had to hear all that last night. Our text line is blowing up, John.
There's a lot on there.
There's a lot there. The question posed was, would you be okay with, some of your tax dollars going toward this and increasing the police budget by 9.1%? And pretty much everything that's come in is basically a yes. Look at this. Someone said, I have 12 properties and pay plenty in tax, and I'm okay with it for police.
There you
go. Absolutely. Need more traffic enforcement. With the way society has changed, yes to more police. Well said, John. You cannot put a price on safety.
Here's another one. I would never want to be a police officer nowadays. They deserve every penny and more, putting their lives at risk for us.
Yeah.
That's what it says. And yet there were counselors last night who incredibly arrogantly challenged not only the police services board, but the chief of police with questions about how they're spending the money. I don't think, and I do pay attention to these things. Maybe you don't, but I don't think I've ever seen in the last number of years a bunch of cops sitting around having a coffee, just enjoying life with nothing to do.
Yeah.
Have you walked through our downtown cores? Have you been to an encampment? Have you seen the work that has to be done? At the same time, behind the scenes, not even with what's happening on the street, behind the scenes, can you even fathom the amount of paperwork that is sitting in that building that needs to be taken care of every day to get charges and people through the court system? That's some of the hiring. We have an incredible backlog of cases and paperwork. That's what we have to do. We need to spend the money to question that. And at one point, one counselor suggests, do we even really need the admin people? Maybe we should just... You have no clue what they're going through.
Police Chief Darcy Fleury on Tuesday, when we had him here on the program, also said something to you when you were talking to him that I remember, how excited he was when they were welcoming 8 new constables. But then it just kind of...
all it's doing is filling a gap.
Because either someone's off sick or there's a retirement or something behind the scenes.
Right.
So it's great that we hired 8 new, but now all of a sudden there's others that are leaving. So it's tough. It's tough to have more boots on the ground.
So it seems that the text line, which has an enormous amount of text there, thank you.
Wow, there's a lot
is
here.
in support of this. So counselors who last night said, I talked to a lot of people, they don't want... You're clueless. You're talking to the wrong people, or you're not talking to enough of them. Because from our unscientific poll right now, every single text that's coming in right now is in support of that extra few bucks to pay for the police.
Yeah.
Here, go ahead.
Well, someone said, I'm all for more boots on the ground. It's cheaper than building them a new building.
There you go, which is also coming.
Count the complaints about nightly car break-ins that don't even get a follow-up.
Yeah, because
we
they
need
can't.
more police.
We need more police.
Yeah. So
that aside, here's my last part of this, and I will apologize in advance. Please listen to me when I say this, because this is so obvious now. If you are not watching what's happening, and trust me, it is painful to sit through a 6-hour meeting. Trust me, I do it a lot, and every single time it happens, I think to myself, why am I doing this? It is painful to watch. But today, at some point, last night's meeting will go online. Do yourself a favor and watch the last 45 minutes.
Okay.
What happened last night was disgusting. And I'm going to tell you why. Here's my fear. If this is an election year which one counselor arrogantly pointed out last night that everybody is just saying these things because it's an election year. In the meantime, spent the time to say that because it's an election year. If you understand anything about local politics, you know where I'm going. If you don't, please listen carefully. The people that were most outspoken and most arrogant last night could be the people that might be your mayor. Think about this for a second. There's all kinds of rumblings of who's running for mayor. Let me remind you of something. If these people with those terrible attitudes become the mayor of your city, they will have strong mayor powers and will be able to not even bring a budget to council, can make their own. These people could also fire the city manager at a whim. The power that the next mayor has is unbelievable. And if you look at the people that were most outspoken last night, ask yourself if you trust them with the hands of your city. You don't, and you shouldn't.
Could a strong mayor power also say, no, I don't approve this 9.1% increase?
They could have brought their own budget and said it's 0%, and now we're cutting everything. The implications of this year's election, I apologize, I'm not being dramatic. The implications of this year's election is historic. Look at the amount of growth that we have. Look at the potential that we have for new housing, for new retail, for new industry. Look at all these things that are on the table right now. The next council that gets elected in October could blow all of that up. At the same time, the next council could change administration, could change the budget, could change the focus and say we're not having any growth. The implications of this upcoming election in October are substantial. Okay. And so all I'm going to say is this. If you care about what your taxes are, if you care about the growth in this city, what you should, if you care about the safety of this city because of the time that we're in now, you have to pay attention to who's saying what in that room, because there is a very real danger that somebody that you don't agree with, who embarrasses us, who embarrasses council, could be the next mayor. And if that is something that you actually care about, please spend 45 minutes and watch the end of last night's meeting.
You touched on two very fine points right there. The safety and the growth of our city, safety being number one. Before we wrap up, John, and get into news, I just want to share more texts that have come through literally in the last 2 minutes or so. These are, I can't even keep track of all these. Someone said, when the police ask, you give. They're the ones on the ground. Someone said, hallelujah, John. Yep. Well, out of our elected councilors who serve, how many should be reelected?
Okay. So let me just end with this. Here's what happened last night about the police budget, and I will wrap up with this.
More boots on the ground, more boots on the ground. So this poll was pretty much in favor of supporting that.
But I want to end with this. Yeah, here's what happened last night, and it's why you want to watch the last 45 minutes. One of the counselors last night put forward an amendment that says, nope, not accepting this police budget. Send it back to them, make it better. They have the right to do that. Yep. But as Chief Fleury explained and John Cullen explained this week, there is an entire process for this that doesn't look good. So go back and do it. That was the amendment on the floor. Go back and make more cuts. That led to another hour's worth of debate where counselors were calling each other out. But then guess what happened? It came to a vote. And what happens when this council votes on important things? There were 12 people in the room, and the vote was 6-6.
What happens in a tie?
The amendment lost, so it's not going back to the police service. Now go back and watch the vote and look at the 6 people that said, go back and do your homework. To the experts who are on the ground every single day. Go and look at who those people are. I am not even going to give you the benefit of saying their name, because it's disgusting that you would even think that you know better than the Thunder Bay Police Service. This is the state of this council. It has been like this since the beginning. And if you don't pay attention now, God help us in the fall.
Okay, two more I'm going to share before we wrap up. Someone said some counselors need to do a drive along with the police department. And someone said, having worked in the court system for years, I've seen what the police put up with. It's unbelievable. So
The
there it is.
6-6 vote says everything last night. And then the childish outburst when you lose says even more. Watch the video.
This is your special edition of the Council Roundup. Thanks, John. This will be available to you for a recap at yourthunderbay.ca in just a bit.